Police in Columbia, Illinois walked into a house of horror on the morning of May 5, 2009. 31-year-old Sheri Coleman and her sons, 11-year-old Garret and 9-year-old Gavin, had been strangled in their bedrooms. It would take 2 years and thousands of hours of police work before they would get their justice. Before we go any further, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscription button. Y'all guys watch this video all the way through. I'm D. Ellis, this is Crime Circuit, and let's dive into the rest of the case. Sheri met Chris Coleman at a K-9 training seminar at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio in May of 1997. Sheri, 21 at the time, was also an MP in the Air Force. Coleman, a Marine, was 22. They dated just a few months before Sheri was pregnant with Garret, and the two got married. Gavin was born about 2 years later. Chris Coleman grew up the son of Ron and Connie Coleman. They were big pastors in the Monroe County, Illinois area. Joyce Meyer, the head of the International Christian Ministry, who knew the Colemans, hired Chris to work on her security team. It wasn't long before Chris became Joyce's personal bodyguard, earning a salary of $100,000 a year. Chris, Sheri, and their boys lived in a 2-story home on the 2800 block of Robert Drive in Columbia, Illinois. This was a short drive away from Chris's parents' home in Chester, Illinois. Friends and neighbors described Chris and Sheri as a wonderful couple, and with Gavin and Garret, a beautiful family. Now, as we go further into the story, this is where things are going to start becoming spooky. Now, in the mid of 2008, a threatening email filled with obscenities is sent to Chris Coleman, Joyce Meyer, and her son. In early January of 2009, Coleman reached out to a neighbor who worked for the Columbia Police Department, specifically Detective Sergeant Justin Barlow. He told Detective Barlow and local authorities about a threatening letter that he left in his mailbox. Police agreed to patrol the neighborhood, and Barlow installed a security camera pointed at the Coleman's mailbox. Neither the camera nor the extra patrols yielded any results. Over the same period of time of getting the crazy letters, Sheri would tell friends that Chris's demeanor had changed. She suspected an affair. She also confided to a friend that if something happens to me, Chris did it. In late April, Chris Coleman contacted local police again about another note with threats against his family. On the morning of May 5th of 2009, Chris Coleman left his home on Robert Drive to go work out at a gym in South St. Louis County. He called Sheri's cell phone and left a message. He would text her again while at the gym and called once more when he was on his way home. Chris called Barlow and the Columbia PD and requested they check on Sheri and the boys. Detective Barlow met a Columbia police officer in front of the Coleman residence. They too discovered a basement window that had been opened. The pair entered the basement and they made their way through the house. During the search, they saw spray paint on the wall saying, in big red letters, "I am always watching. You have paid, and you have punished." Police would find the bodies of Sheri, Garret, and Gavin in their beds. They had ligature marks on their necks indicating they had been strangled with a cord or a rope. While police were searching the house, Chris had pulled into the driveway just before 7 a.m. Another officer had arrived and kept Chris outside the residence. Detective Barlow and the other Columbia officer would leave the home and inform Chris that his family is dead. Chris would be taken to Columbia Police Headquarters and interviewed. Investigators suspected Chris could be involved in his family's deaths. Digital evidence recovered from Sheri's phone and Chris's laptop pointed to a marital problem and pointed suspicion over an affair with a woman named Tara Lentz. As detectives grilled Chris, they learned that Lentz was Sheri's friend and lived in St. Petersburg, Florida. Chris told authorities he knew Lentz and the two were friends themselves. At the same time, officers in Florida were questioning Lentz about the same nature of her relationship with Chris Coleman. A picture would emerge of a man engaging in an affair with his wife's friend. Detectives with the major case squad were piecing together a case against Chris. Computer and data specialists inspected his laptop. Handwriting analysts looked at the threatening emails, his notes, and spray painted messages in the home. And forensic examiners pored over police paperwork and the autopsy reports on the victims. Chris Coleman would be arrested on May 19th of 2009 at his parents' home in Chester, Illinois. He will be charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Police said Coleman spray painted his walls to make it look like someone else killed his family. After a lengthy delay and pushes to move the proceedings elsewhere, the trial would begin on April 25th of 2011 in Waterloo, Illinois. Jurors were selected from Perry County to avoid the possibility of a tainted jury. After 15 hours of deliberation over 2 days, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts on May 5th of 2011, the 2-year anniversary of the murders. In December of 2012, the bodies of Sheri, Gavin, and Garret were exhumed from their graves at Evergreen Cemetery in Chester and would be relocated to Sheri's hometown just outside of Chicago. Now, what's crazy is, Chris Coleman's family would fight to keep the bodies in Chester, but a judge will ultimately decide that a convicted murderer should not be able to keep control of his victims. First and foremost, rest in peace to the children, rest in peace to Sheri, condolences to the family. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm D. Ellis, this is Crime Circuit. I love y'all, stay safe, keep something with you. Till next time, peace.